There was a play this year when we played Benjamin. We ran a tailback option, and I was on our tailback this year, not to throw the ball, tuck it and go. And I'd been on him kind of all night, and we run option left, and he rolls out and he finds the Y deep on the backside for a big touchdown. And he comes over and kind of winks at me and says, "Just trust me, coach." We obviously have coaching points, but at the same time, you gotta let your dudes be dudes.
Hi, I'm Bradley Tarpy, and welcome to the Six Man Spotlight, a place where we give a platform to six-man football coaches to share the intricacies of scheme and culture unique to the world of six-man football. Today's guest is Jayton head coach Josh Stanaland. An alumni of Jayton, Coach Stanaland has formed Jayton into a powerhouse of Texas 1A football, as his Jaybirds are celebrating their second straight 1A Division II state championship with another 15-0 season. In a season full of highlights, Jayton had a record-setting performance in the state championship game, defeating storied program Richland Springs 99-54, led by Jayton running back, or as they call him, three-back, Bodie Ham, with 13 total touchdowns, a 1A state championship game record. In my conversation today with Coach Stanaland, we dive into the Jaybird passing attack, specifically his favorite passing concept called option. Coach shares with us a full install as well as some popular variations, and even their process of drilling the play with his team. We cap off our conversation with a dive into the key qualities to running a successful hammer play. Well, Coach Stanaland, I'm a big fan, man. Just preparing for our game earlier this year, I kind of fell in love with Jayton and just what you guys are about. And, like I've communicated to you, man, I'm just so thankful for you giving me a shot to come on here and throw some questions at you, man. But I really appreciate your time. And I know you guys are trying to go back to back in basketball, man. So just want you to know I value your time, and I'm really thankful for you being here today.
Hey man, appreciate it. It's an honor to be here, and man, you guys have got a fan in me as well. Got the awesome opportunity to play you guys week 2, and that was a special time. So yeah, we're happy to do it.
Cool. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we're going to jump into you guys and your Jaybird offense. I don't know if it's in your contract that you guys have to run Jaybird, but, when I watch you guys, y'all are a tight team, but you guys, to me, seem closer to a 50-50 run pass than maybe what people would anticipate from a tight offense. I'm curious if that is a philosophical decision, if that's more personnel driven, or, just kind of what are your thoughts behind y'all's run pass ratio?
Yeah. So, kind of to start to go back what you said about us running the J, whenever I first became the football coach in 2010, we didn't run much J. We were mostly T and ran more balanced line stuff. And then as I, got a little bit more into it, and man, I always hated to defend the J. And so, that fourth gap always gave me fits. And so decided that that's what we would go to and commit to it. And we've been doing that pretty well exclusively now for, I don't know, 10 or 12 years. And so
Right.
I think it's made us better. But yeah, like you mentioned, the 50-50 pass, honestly, man, it is a little bit of a philosophical thing. We usually try to be about 60-40 run to pass. And that's usually where we land. There obviously are years where we, are 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 closer to balanced, or maybe go a little bit more run heavy. And a little bit of that over the last handful of years has also been personnel driven. We've had a really good quarterback as a 4-year starter, and you know, it's just honestly, we're going to take what the defense gives us. And so, we have the ability to throw the ball if we need to, but as a defensive minded guy, I love to run the football, and that's kind of my DNA. That's what I enjoy doing. That's where we take the most amount of pride in our ability to block people and then to run the football. And so we'll always be a little bit more run heavy, but I do think that balance within the offense is important.
Well, you guys achieve it, man. Y'all do a great job, making people defend both, which obviously leads to some of the success you guys have on offense. But coach, like we were talking about, I really want to dive in to a play that you guys call option.
Uh-huh.
And, this is something that I saw you talk about at the Six Clinic in June. And I was just really impressed with the simplicity of it, the effectiveness of it. It sort of reminds me of a press break in basketball just a little bit. There's,
Yeah.
all the options that you have, maybe that has something to do with the name.
Yeah.
But could you for the listeners, maybe give us a quick install, a quick breakdown of what this play is, how it fits in y'all's offense?
Yeah.
Can you take us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we call it option left. We don't flip our J, and so our strong side is always to the right. And so the play design here, quarterback's going to take the snap, and he is going to sprint to his left. Uh, while that's happening, probably the most important part of this play, the fullback, which we call the two back, the fullback's got to block the weak side defensive end, and ideally he hooks him. And if the two back can hook the weak side defensive end, then we're off to the races. We've won. And so our center is going to run a slant to the weak side. His job is to run right at the weak side corner and put that kid in conflict, make that corner make a decision. Um, while that's happening, our guard, which we call the X, the middle guard, is running to the left upright. That's his aim point. That's his landmark. No matter where we are on the field, he's running left upright. And then our end, our Y, is running a backside banana, and he's got to get outside the numbers. And while that's all happening, while our quarterback is sprinting to his weak side, the tailback has got a good pitch relationship with him. So basically, what we're doing essentially to start is we're reading the weak side corner. If the weak side corner drops with the center, then we're making a pitch and the quarterback can go lead. We've got a run play.
Hmm.
If the weak side corner steps up like he's going to stop the run, then we throw it over his head to the center for a big play. And then obviously our quarterback now, 4-year starters, played 55 games for us. Pre-snap, based on pre-snap alignment, he has a pretty good idea about where he's going with the ball. Is the safety up? If the safety's up, he knows he might have the guard deep. If the safety's deep, then that X knows to look on his second or third step. And then a lot of times we're going to get that Y on the backside route just because of the way we see a lot of 2-3, the way that the 2-3 rotates. That backside corner is responsible for that deep back half. And, it's tough to run with that kid if he's a very good athlete. So that's our option left play. That's the first play that we install, with our third and fourth graders at Pee Wee. We have a handful of base plays, but that's the pass play for us. If we had to go into a game with one play, it'd be option left.
Yeah, that's terrific, and it's a great play. It's a lot of fun to watch on film.
Yeah.
A quick follow up: your banana route on the backside. Does that kind of naturally fit into the progression? Is that something that's more of an alert that you're telling the quarterback, "Hey, look at the banana on this one"? Can you talk a little bit about how that fits into the overall progression of the quarterback?
Yeah, so really, we're always going to look short to deep, and so for the quarterback, as he's rolling to his left, he's naturally going to have his eyes on the center to start. And so if that's covered, he's going to work his way to the guard. He's running up the middle, and then if he sees that the safety is there, and he should be, that he's just going to peek at that backside. And usually, we'll know based on our scouting if we think the Y is going to be there that week, based on how they rotate, based on what type of athlete that strong side corner is. Can he run with our Y? A lot of times it's hard to do because that kid's coming off the line. He's coming off the line hard, and we throw that route the least by far. By far, we hit the center the most often, and then our X is second, and then the Y is third. But most of the time when we hit that Y, it's for a big play, usually for a touchdown.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of tags also, so we can go option left, and we'll call Y under, where that kid begins like it's his banana route, and he breaks it off at 6 or 7 and comes underneath into that, into the hole that's been created by those other routes, and we can get that kid that ball that way too. So we call it option left, but we got a lot of tags where we can change up those routes, and we still want to create a good spread of the field and put that weak side corner in a bind.
So, Coach, a follow up off of this option play. One thing that gives this more flexibility to you guys is the ability to run it both as a dead ball sprint out, but also as a second exchange. What are some of the considerations that you guys have when running the second exchange version? Is it game plan dependent? Is it personnel dependent? Down and distance? I'm just curious what your thoughts are on sort of switching the responsibilities of the quarterback and the running back a little bit.
So, first off, I think it's number one, it's got to be personnel dependent, at least a little bit. For us, we really value having a tailback, a 3-back that can throw the football. And I just feel like it gives an extra dimension to your offense. And, I think, a lot of people could just put their quarterback back there, but then to me, that becomes keyable. And so for us, having a tailback that can do both. And so um, we call it, again, our tailback, we call him three back. And so for us, we just call three back option left. And so the routes are exactly the same. The two back's job is exactly the same. And then the quarterback is just going to turn. He's going to open up. He's going to pitch it with his left hand. And then he's going to spin back and he's going to pick up the first threat to the strong side. Usually, if there's a gap defender or the middleman on the line, he's going to pick that kid up and he's going to block him. And then he's going to block for about a 1,000, about a 2 count. And then he's going to release and he's going to sit in the backside flat. And so, we've created a big void over there by running that Y off on the banana. Everybody's gone. And then you're pitching the ball to a good athlete who can use his legs and has a good arm. Like our three back this year, for example, really only running three back option left through 10 touchdowns. And obviously, most people saw what he did in the state championship. He's he's a special kid. But I feel like for me in 6-man football, that tailback option is probably the most difficult thing to defend. Just because you got your ears pinned back and it's a nightmare. It's tough.
Yeah. From a play calling standpoint, do you see this as more of a third, fourth down call? Do you picture it more like a play action type of role in your offense? So just any thoughts there?
Yeah, it is like I'm going to say it's probably when we are in a third down and third down and long or fourth down and we need a big play, we're going to go to a tailback option usually of some sort. Just because of the difficulty, the ability to tuck and go if the routes are covered. Um, I don't love a dead passing, a dead quarterback outside of regular option left. Um,
Mhm.
we do it occasionally, but our preference is to make that guy live, and sometimes it's our quarterback, and we'll put him back there. But our quarterback can also run 33 and 34, and so we try not to make it super keyable. But um, yeah, it is. It's definitely one of our big plays, and we have some just traditional play action plays that we do off of our base runs, just like everybody else, some bootlegs and stuff like that. But our three back option left is what we go to when we need a big one.
Talking still this three back option portion of
hmm
your offense, does anything change in terms of the running back's progression? Is he still reading that strong side corner? I'm also
hmm
curious if you give him any direction on at what point he should be looking to run. Do you just sort of trust your best player in those types of situations? Curious how you give guidance.
Yeah. So to begin with, yes, his progressions are exactly the same. So if he's going to catch it, and his eyes are going to the exact same place, and which is to the weak side, to that weak side corner. And if that corner is dropping, then he knows he's running, and his read is done at that point. And so if that corner steps up, then we usually try to play a really good athlete at the center spot
Mhm.
for that reason. I think it creates some mismatches, and it is our favorite pass play. But as far as coaching that kid up, I know our backs and quarterback too, all of them. I like their arm, but I love their legs. I if there's green grass, we got to take the green grass. To me, that run is guaranteed positive yards, and we are good at throwing and catching the football, but still, when you put that thing in the air, a little more risk to it. And
Mhm.
so, I know there was a play this year when we played Benjamin. We ran a tailback option, and I was on Bodie. I was on our our tailback this year, and not to throw the ball, tuck it and go, and I've been on him kinda all night, and, we run option left, and he rolls out, and it finds the Y deep on the backside for a big touchdown, and he comes over and kinda winks at me and says, "Just trust me, coach." And so, it's one of those deals. We obviously have coaching points, but at the same time, you gotta let your dudes be dudes, and, I trust them, after all these years in the system. I mentioned earlier that we start these kids on this in 3rd grade. They're playing tackle football and they're running our base plays in 3rd grade. And I watched our 3rd and 4th graders this year run three back option left to win a ball game on 4th down and goal. And I watched that kid roll out to his left and then hit the Y for a touchdown. And those kids are 9, 10 years old, and so they do that starting at that age. By the time they're 16, 17, 18, they got a good grasp of it, and we can put our trust in them for sure.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
I love that you guys do that with the little kids. That must be so fun to watch.
It's awesome, man. It's great. So much fun.
Do they play flag or what's the deal there?
No, it's tackle, 3rd
Are
and
you
4th.
really?
We start tackle at 3rd. Yeah, our
Whoa.
1st and 2nd graders play flag, and then, 3rd and 4th has a tackle team, and 5th and 6th has a tackle team. So,
Okay. So this replaces like Pee Wee, like we have here, I
yeah,
guess.
that's our Pee Wee league, and there's,
Wow.
um, 5 or 6 schools in our area that do it, like us, Knox City, Spur, Motley County. All of us do it together, and we just rotate each week where we play, and yeah, Valley's with us, and I think Roby's going to join us next year. So we're gonna have 6 schools, and it's pretty fun.
Wow. And it's 6 man
It's 6 man, yeah, it's all six
exclusively?
man. Yep,
Holy cow. That is really
yeah,
cool.
yep.
That's really neat. Well, Coach, kind of starting to wrap up this option pass
Uh-huh.
conversation. I've heard in the rumor mill that you guys have a drill that y'all do to sort of help teach this play. Could you talk a little bit about that drill that y'all do?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do it every single day. Uh, every single day we run what we call option left passing, and then we do it um, in every pregame. So it is, we spend a lot of time running this. And so basically all that is we have a line of centers that all have a football. We have a line of our X's, our middle end, and then a line of Y's. And so we've got a couple of quarterbacks and then 3 or 4 running backs over kind of to the left. And we're on the quarterback's cadence. He says, ready, go, or whatever. And then uh, we have managers with footballs, and then on the quarterback's go call, those managers snap footballs to the other 2 running backs. So the quarterback
Mhm.
catches a snap or is under center, and he's rolling left. The backs are rolling left, just as if it was 3 back option left for those guys. And
Mhm.
then um, each of them, we just have a pattern. Everybody knows where the ball's going. We go through that one time, and then we switch throwers with the routes. We do that. So we'll go what we call option left. We'll do that 3 times. We have guard slant, Y under, X will. We have a bunch of route combinations, and it's pretty rapid fire. I mean, it
Uh-huh.
is. It is as soon as those backs get back, we're snapping another one, and we challenge them. That's usually a big part of our conditioning. Number one, the drill itself, but at the
Uh-huh.
same time, I usually give them a target number for incompletions. If we can keep it under a certain amount, then I may cut conditioning. But if it's ugly and it's not very good, then we'll go line up and we'll run for the bad balls. And so, yeah, we do it a lot, a lot, and just again, just repping that. The routes is one thing, but just repping the eyes and repping getting left for the backs. And then as soon as that's over, we'll just a quick little portion of the pitch relationship between the quarterback and the 3 back. We'll get a few reps of that before that's usually the last thing we do before we get into some of our indie stuff. That's really the last part of our warm up.
Mm. Yeah, it's
So
great. It's funny y'all look like an air raid team the first couple minutes of y'all's practice.
yeah, we throw it a lot, for a team that runs it 60 or 70% of the time. We a lot of our pregame and getting loose is putting the ball in the air and running and getting it a little bit.
Well, I recall that because I remember watching y'all warm up on the other side before y'all even had pads on. Y'all were just playing catch, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Huh, that's interesting."
Yeah,
We're over here headbutting each other for
yeah,
30 minutes. You guys haven't even put pads on yet,
yeah,
just throwing the ball around.
yeah.
I love it. Well, Coach, we're going to transition to a portion of the show that I call the depth chart.
Okay,
I'm going to give you 3 options, and if you
okay,
picture a depth chart, you're trying to rank these options off of their importance to you. And
okay,
our topic here is going to be these are essential to the success of option left. So the first one, a left-handed thrower.
okay.
Number 2, an athletic center. Or the third is a quarterback who can handle the key read of having to read the corner and sort of see the whole field and understand how it fits together.
Yeah. Man, for me, that's pretty easy. I'll take the quarterback that can make the read. Just because, there have been years where we don't have the athletic center, and it's still been a very successful play for us.
Hmm.
We can go guard slant, and all that does is switch the routes between the center and the guard.
Yeah.
And so Now the center is taking the left upright, and now the guard is doing the same thing. And so, if we like that matchup better, then we'll do that. And we did that quite a bit this year, largely to get our center on a vertical route because he is a stud. Um, we've been pretty fortunate, I think, since 2015, uh, eight eight of the years since 2015, we've had a left-handed quarterback. And
What?
so, not on purpose, honestly, it was just 2 kids that both were 4-year starters, and they both happened to be left-handed.
Wow.
Our starting quarterback next year will be a right-handed kid, and, he can run option left also. So,
Okay.
it's not a requirement by any means, so I would say depth chart number 1, quarterback make the read. Number 2, an athletic center, and then number 3, him being left-handed. That last part is a luxury for sure, just
Okay.
because of how quick it is, for him moving to his left to pull that thing up, and then that left-handed pitch is really natural for him. So, but that's a luxury in my opinion. Give me the quarterback, righty, lefty, whatever. They can make a read and make the right decision with the ball.
Interesting. Well, that you kind of got into my follow up a little bit. I think coaches are going to hear this conversation and they're going to be interested in running this some.
Mhm,
I'm curious, have you ever considered, let's say you have a right handed quarterback, you have a right handed three back. Has
mhm.
it ever crossed y'all's mind to potentially flip your J to be in a strong left team? Have y'all ever had that conversation internally? Curious your thoughts.
Yeah, we've actually worked it some. We've flipped it some, and man, it just and honestly, we could probably make it work if we really committed to it. But our kids, the run plays don't seem to hit the same.
Hmm.
When we run strong side sweep, which we call 34, when we run 34, it's just there's something to it about running it the same way. Same thing on our weak side sweep. And when we've flipped it, it just hasn't looked as good. It's not as fast. And I am a stickler for execution.
Hmm.
And I have my stopwatch at practice and I'm timing our time to the line of scrimmage from our backs. And I don't like it to be slow. And so we do have an option right play out of J. And so basically all that ends up happening there is the strong side end now blocks. The X runs the slant to the right
Okay.
side. The center runs the left upright, the right upright, and the two back releases on the backside wheel or the backside banana. So again, I can probably count on one hand the number of times that we run that in my 15 years as the head coach,
Okay.
So, but yeah, we have experimented with it, and a lot of teams do it and do it with great success. It just hasn't fit us really good. We've just, and part of it is probably, like I mentioned, we train those kids from such a young age to run
Right.
option left and to
Hmm.
run the way that we run J, which is strong side to the right. It's just habitual, I guess.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I'm glad you said that because in all my research, I've never seen you run option right.
Yeah,
I mean, I
no,
haven't
very,
watched
very,
this.
very rarely. Yeah.
I got you. Hey, coaches, I want to take a quick break in the action to encourage you. If you're enjoying the conversation, to please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Coach Tarp and leave a like or a comment on any content you have enjoyed. I would also love to hear any feedback you might have. It is my pet project right now to try to see how big a channel can be centered around six-man football content. And your interactions via subscriptions, likes, and comments go a long way in the YouTube overlords rewarding the channel. Also, I wanted to let you know you can find full episodes of the Six Man Spotlight on Spotify or Apple Podcast. Simply search the Six Man Spotlight on either platform and you're going to find it there. Only in 2026 can you find six-man football content on your way to and from work. Well, coaches, thanks again, and let's get back to the show. Well, Coach, that was terrific. Let's get one more round of the depth chart in here. And I feel like it would be coaching malpractice if we didn't talk a little bit of run game with you guys,
Yeah.
like you mentioned,
Yeah.
with your three back success in the state championship game and just, the way you guys run the ball. We need to talk about it a little bit.
Absolutely.
So, Coach, we're going to rank these three off of their importance to running a successful hammer play. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
So, number one, the play side tight ends down block, or just their block in general.
Okay.
Number two, the quarterback's kick out block. Or number three, the fullback sort of wrapping around to insert to the play side linebacker or safety. And these are
Man.
supposed to be tricky on purpose, but curious how you would rank those three and their importance to making hammer go.
Man. So I mean, without all 3 of those, you don't have a successful play. I mean, to start with,
Mhm,
if, if you've got a for me, if you've nothing drives me crazier as an offensive line guy than to let gap penetration affect the play.
mhm,
So for us, if our end has a guy in his gap, then he knows, hey, that's block and rule. I got gap away. It's easy. We're hammering. That if that kid gets through the gap, then it's all over because he's taking out the two back, he's taking out the
mhm.
quarterback, and then it's over. So that's got to be number one. If we don't get the gap block, we don't have a play. And so uh, you know, the second one, it's interesting. You mentioned the quarterback's kick or the two back, what we call, fold or we tell them to get first threat left eye.
Mhm.
A lot of people invert that. A lot of people like to have the two back kick and then lead the quarterback up inside. So it's really six in one, half dozen in the other. Um, but I would say the second most important thing after getting that gap block is the kick block, whoever you have them do it. Because, whether it's your strong side corner or if you have a defensive end that's outside, a lot of times that kid wants to squeeze the hole. So he's coming down inside and he's trying to take something on inside shoulder. And if we don't get him kicked out, then again, we don't have a play. So, and then finally, any second level block is is secondary to, getting stuff done on the line of scrimmage. So I would say gap block number 1, kick out block number 2, and then that second level block, whether it's on the, safety or whatever, number 3.
Nice, so I gave them to you in the order they were in. Perfect.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was thinking along the right lines. Well, hey, a quick follow-up,
Yep.
100% agree that play side tight ends block is so valuable, but sometimes you run into matchup issues there. Maybe their guy's better than your guy. What are some answers in you guys' scheme to try and handle situations where you might be a little outmatched at that position?
Yeah, so, there have been a lot of years where that kid that we have, at the end spot, at our Y spot is a big physical kid, and, maybe we're gonna play against a big defensive end that week, and we might not like our quarterback or our two back on that block,
Mhm,
so it's really easy for us. We'll just call 34 Y kick, and so we know then, hey, Y is gonna kick out, and, quarterback, two back are both gonna lead inside. One's gonna get left eye, one's gonna get right eye, and we're good to go. But then on the flip side of that, if it's a situation where, uh, though it's a disadvantage for us, then we can always send that Y line too, always. It's not a big deal.
mhm,
And, we had a kid this year that developed a lot throughout the year. He was a first year starter for us on the offensive line at that spot. And early in the year, we were sending him line two a lot. And, he progressed and grew and developed over the course of 15 games and became a really, really good player for us. Something that we've done also is if we have a guy in the four hole gap. So, for me, four hole gap
yeah.
between the X and the Y.
So we're talking like the B gap?
In the B gap, yes, sir. If
Okay.
we have a kid in the B gap, and we're having trouble with it, we will just run what we call 32 pitch. And so we're gonna let the X, our guard, kick out right there, and we're gonna hit that thing real skinny,
Hmm,
and we'll just run it inside right there. But
mhm,
it's rare that we don't have a kid that can make the gap block in the B gap or in the four hole. It's something that we practice just about daily.
mhm.
We throw option left every day. We block every day, and we do some sort of tackling. So, at the end of the day, this whole thing comes down to blocking and tackling. And, obviously, what Bodie did in the state championship game was incredible, but it's all the time that those offensive linemen spend with their hand in the dirt, because while those backs are over doing whatever running backs do, during our indie time,
Yeah.
you know, we've got the linemen over there and we're barking at them and we're trying to make things confusing. We're moving the defense around to make sure we're following blocking rules and they're over there doing diva running back quarterback stuff. So a lot of credit goes to those guys for the work that they do throughout the year and for sure.
That's hilarious. That's exactly what our practice is like
Yeah.
as well.
It's about
Well, coach, I was just telling you, I mean, this has been really terrific. I think this is going to be really valuable to coaches. And just once again, I'm really thankful for your time. I'm thankful for you coming on and sort of stepping into the spotlight. And hey, I'm just, like I told you, big fan and really appreciative of your time. I got one final question to kind of wrap this thing up for you.
yes, sir.
So, I'm calling this show the Six Man Spotlight, and you've sort of stepped into the spotlight to share with us today about y'all's passing game, a little bit about your running game. But sort of coming from a spirit of gratefulness, I'm curious, is there anybody in your life, anybody in your football program, just whatever that you want to give a shout out to or you want to move the spotlight to?
Man, first, I mean, our kids, it starts there. You don't get to do the stuff that we've had the opportunity to do over the last few years without great kids. Um, our our senior class is finished their career with 50 wins, and it's crazy, and they're great kids. They're hard workers. They do things the right way. Those guys, number one. Number two, our assistant coaches. Man, those guys. So much of my time in practice, I just get to kind of walk back and forth and observe things, while Coach Blacker's got the backs doing something. The other Coach Stanaland, my brother,
Mhm.
that we were able to add to the staff is he's got the linemen doing their stuff, and then we get Coach Chesum there on game days and just all the stuff that those guys do behind the scenes. And I'm kind of the face of the program in football season, and that's a blessing. But we wouldn't be what we are without those guys. And then you know my wife, my family, man, just being a coach's wife can be hard, and with the hours we put in, and I can be bad about it. I'm a little bit of a film junkie, and I don't believe you can ever be too prepared, and so my nights can run late and my mornings can be early, and but for us having four kiddos, she does she's a champ, man. She's awesome.
All right, guys, y'all just listened to the first ever episode of the Six Man Spotlight with Josh Stanaland. And man, he was great. I want to move into, I guess, a post-game press conference here, give some recap. I've got a couple of thoughts of things that I could have done better, sort of my main takeaways from my conversation with Josh. Man, I just want to start, when I was thinking up this project, I had a pretty short list of guys that I wanted to bring on and do this. And, Josh was number one. The guy I'm going to have on in March was number two. And I got to tell y'all, it's pretty surreal to have those guys join the call, and all of a sudden you're sitting having this conversation with them. And just everybody I've reached out to have been so receptive to this idea. And, I told him this multiple times before and during our conversation. It might have been a little annoying, but I'm just so thankful for him and his willingness to jump on here and try this thing out. And I think we put together something that's going to be pretty helpful to you guys. It's sort of like just talking to Coach Stanaland. Isn't it just painstakingly clear that that guy's a teacher? He's well-spoken. It's easy to follow what he's talking about. Their success, and even more than their success, just how successful they are in their execution and how sharp they seem during the game. Because once again, I got to see it firsthand in week 2 of this past season. It's not surprising at all. They are a product of well-coached, well-trained, and talented kids. You put all that together, they're going to have a pretty solid program, right? Well, jumping into sort of my main takeaways here, thinking back to the conversation with Coach Stanaland, man, how funny is it, number one, and just how cool is it, like their feeder program? The thought that there are, I can't remember exactly what age he said, but 10-year-olds out in the Panhandle or up in northern Northwest Texas playing padded up tackle football six man. That is so cool. It's honestly something I didn't even know existed prior to hearing him speak at the clinic, but you know the idea that training those kids from such a young age to run the same schemes and the same techniques that they're going to use when they're 17 and 18, I mean, how can that not be a major takeaway from this conversation? I imagine there's a big population of y'all listening to this that maybe didn't necessarily learn anything new other than it's sort of fun to hear things that you already know from a coach that you respect a lot in Coach Stanaland. But man, the ability to just teach kids from such a young age and how that's gonna make impacts later down the road, like the importance of their feeder program obviously stood out to me. And now that we're sitting here right now, I've gotten a chance to do a couple of these interviews with a couple different coaches, and that topic keeps coming up over and over again. How important it is that they got their middle school and younger kids, same techniques, same schemes, same coaching points, and that just pays dividends over the long run. But, I guess the main conversation point that I really wanted to dive into with this conversation with Josh was their option play, because that just really struck me listening to him speak at the clinic. And I thought, wow, every six-man coach in Texas and America needs to hear this guy talk. So I feel like that mission was accomplished. But one takeaway that I got that I don't know that I was necessarily prepared for or anticipating was how important the quarterback's preparation is in running this play. Especially like I'm picturing the sprint out version, there is a lot happening really fast. Quarterback's taking the snap, sprinting to his left in their version of the play. They're really only blocking the play side defensive end. So if there is a strong side A gap player, that guy is unblocked in the quarterback's lap right now. And the quarterback has to process all of these different reads, both pre and post snap. Like, does he have that goalpost route pre snap? As he takes the snap, he's also got to sort of feel if they're covering the goalpost route, do I have the banana route? At the same time, he's got to read that weak side corner if he's taking the center's route or if he's, stepping up towards their running back and playing the run game. So now I got to put it on the center. That's just point being, that's a lot happening. And the value of having a good decision maker at quarterback is not necessarily groundbreaking news, but holy cow, that's asking a lot of the quarterback. And even kind of going back to the feeder program idea, it makes sense to me why if you're going to be good at this play, it's something that kids got to be doing for a long time. So that definitely stood out to me and sort of a laundry list of things. And I suppose my last takeaway here was his verbiage on their hammer play, and I bet they do this on some of their other run schemes as well. This idea of like right eye and left eye, like the quarterback's going to take first thing right eye, and the two back is going to take first thing left eye. I enjoyed that verbiage. That's something I've never heard before. So I don't know. I think that just taking it's sort of like a coaching clinic, right? If you can take one or two things away from this conversation, like I could see adopting that as a more simple way to talk blocking assignments. I think that just kind of makes sense in a kid's head, that verbiage. And even like I picture like our version of 11-man counter, like in theory, we could do that same thing where the kick out block is, first thing right eye and the insert block is first thing left eye. Just, I don't know. Maybe that's a more common thing than I realized, but I'd never heard that worded in that way before. Sort of starting to land this plane here. I am not a professional journalism student, and this whole interviewing thing, I feel like I'm doing okay at it, but like as I look back on this conversation, this was the first schematic interview I ever did. I do feel like I sort of left some meat on the bone. And I'm just excited as I keep doing these, as I keep learning sort of how to prepare for them to improve in that skill. And I got a couple thoughts like, dang, I wish I could have had this question back, or I wish I would have asked this follow up. And to me, the very first thing that comes to mind is the center's route on this option left play, right? Because, so I got to run right at the corner, right? And the quarterback's going to make his decision based off what that corner does. The quarterback's section of that read makes a lot of sense to me. But, teaching the center how he responds to the corners read is something I wish I would have asked about. Like if the corner steps up, does the center need to deepen his route, flatten his route? And I guess the one I'm more interested in is, like for our game plan, we were not going to let that center catch the ball. So I noticed on film, like when the center would see that he was being matched by our weak side corner, it seemed like he would take it more vertical, or he would sometimes cut across our corner's face. Um, and he might just say that it's sort of a feel thing for that player. That's fair, but I guess I would just be curious what they tell him, or do they just let the player go out there and play? I just wish I could have got that one back. I wish I could have dug a little bit deeper there. And this might be a no-brainer, but we probably could have done a whole separate episode on their run game. I think we could have gone into any play, especially like in the big three, like hammer, or weak side sweep, or like the quick dive that the Jaybird teams do. I think that we could have maybe done a whole episode on any of those three. I've got a guest coming up later that's going to go into more detail about that. But one thing that stands out from our game against them, they didn't run hammer different than anybody I think we've ever played. But what was different between Jayton and some of the other Jaybird teams that we played is that their kids come off the ball and kick your butt. So I guess if I could have gone into more detail on something, it would be how they train those kids to be so successful on a base block, on a down block. Once again, I'm sure that Coach Stanaland's not rewriting the game, but they're obviously doing something in practice or something in the weight room, more likely, that helps those kids be so successful in those individual blocking assignments. And I guess my final shoot, I wish I had that back, or I wish I would have asked this follow up, is their quarterback exchange on some of their, like hammer, for example, because their quarterback is left handed. Jayton, I believe, had their quarterback almost do this underhanded left-hand pitch when they were running like hammer to their right. And I feel like that would have been a good story to sort of hear how that came about, because that seems unusual. That seems out of the ordinary. I guess I'd be curious how that came to be. Is that something that they're going to keep doing? Did they find something they like here? Was that just a comfort level thing for that kid, sort of what his default way to teach it is? But yeah, I wish I would have gone into a little bit about their quarterback running back exchange on some of their things, especially with a left-handed player. I would have liked to hear what he thought about that. Well, hey, I don't want this to run too long, but wanted to share a little bit of takeaways, a little bit of like room for improvement for myself. I want to be really vulnerable here. I want to be introspective in sort of how I'm evaluating my own job and how I'm doing. And, if you guys have more experience in interviews, I'd be curious for a little bit of feedback as well. But, at the end of the day, I'm bringing on some guests that are terrific teachers, great coaches. They're great dudes. I just need to ask questions that make sense, and I get out of the way, and they're sharing gold is what my observation has been from these couple of conversations that I've had. But I'm excited for next month. I've got another heavyweight coach coming up here that is really entertaining and just sharing really good value. And man, this is a blast. I hope you guys are enjoying this. And if you are enjoying it, like I mentioned a little bit earlier in the video, I'd love it if you drop a subscription. I'd love it if you shared this episode with your staff. It's not a pride thing. I want this to be just a spot where coaches can come and coaches can learn about six-man football, whether it be from me or these other coaches. So guys, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this episode. I appreciate you sticking around for the post-game show. And man, don't be a stranger. I'm an open book. I'm happy to share anything about what we do. I'm happy to, talk a little bit about my conversations with these guys. Just if you want to talk six-man football, then I'm your guy. Well, guys, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.